Okay, we're going to do a simple edit here in Photoshop Elements 4 in the editor. We've got a file here that I was in the organizer and looked at it, did a Control-I, brought it into the standard editor. Now, the thing that you need to keep in mind when you start working on a photo in Photoshop is, and this is true pretty much of all of them, whether it's the GIMP or PaintShop Pro or Photoshop, it starts with, if you look over here down in the lower right hand corner, it says background, and it's just the one. Now this is what's called a layer. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pull this other up here so we've got kind of room down below. Kind of rearrange a couple things here real quick a second. This is your initial layer. This is a background layer. Now the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control J, and what that does is that actually copies that layer to a new layer. You could right click on it and say make another layer from this one too, but I just go ahead and hit Control J. And I'm going to turn this little eyeball thing off. I'm going to actually keep this around for a little bit. That way if for some reason I totally munge up what I'm doing on the next layer, I can always go back and grab the one before. Now, these layers, the whole idea of these layers is each one is on top of the one below it, and you're looking down through them from the top to the bottom. And all the layers, or this layer currently is totally opaque, so anything we would do on this layer you wouldn't be able to see because of this layer. But if we have things that are kind of empty, then it's going to be transparent, such that you'll be able to actually see down through it. Now I'm going to go back down, I'm going to highlight background, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new layer with this create new layer button. And what this is going to do is create a totally empty blank layer underneath my current layer 1. And what we're going to do here is, on this photo, I think what I want to do is I'm just going to put this photo so that the background, instead of this blue curtain thing, is simply a white background. We're going to see what it looks like. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to make our selection. You have to make sure that to select the layer that you want to work on, and to make the selection, I want layer 1 here, which is the layer with the people. And I'm going to select my magic selection brush tool. If you look here on the left hand side of all the tools, we've got the magic selection brush tool. It's a very nice tool and exactly perfect for something like this. And so what I want to do is I want to simply just kind of, you don't have to be very accurate with this, just kind of draw around on the color here that we want, the blue curtain. And it's going to go ahead then, and once you draw that on, it is going to calculate all the colors that are part of that blue curtain in that whole section there, and come up with a selection that will be all of the blue curtain. And if everything works well, none of the two people. Okay, and now if you look here, what we have is a really nicely selected curtain. You can see the lines here around the people, the dotted kind of walkie crawly lines as they call them. And at this point now what I can do is just simply hit the delete key, and boom, that's gone. Now, what we want to do here too is underneath the layer, on layer 2 underneath, we're going to go ahead and we're going to fill this layer. So we're going to go to Edit, Fill Selection. We're going to fill it with white. We're going to hit OK. And all of a sudden, boom! Now they've got white underneath them. Now, the interesting thing here is, as I look at this, it's like, well, I don't know if I like that. Because that's like a little too stark. So let's go down here. We're going to go back to layer 2. We're going to turn layer 2 off. And the reason you get the checkerboard is simply because it's showing there's nothing there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just simply going to put a new layer there. I'm going to leave the white layer just in case I want to go back to it. But let's go ahead and on layer 3 here, what we'll do is we're going to go up to our gradient tool, which is right down here. We'll select gradient, and just for grins and giggles, I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to choose, I'll choose this one here. And I'm going to go ahead and go for kind of a radial fill. And so I'm going to choose a point kind of up in the upper left corner here. And I'm just going to drag the line down. And on layer 3, this is just going to put this gradient there. And, and it's drawing it out now. And this is going to put this gradient then underneath these people. And we'll see what that looks like. And this is one of the nice things with layers too, is you can try different things under different layers and see what happens. Now this is looking a little better. It's not quite so stark. Probably if I was going to be doing some other stuff with this to really get it looking nice, I might kind of play with the way the gradient comes across and such, to figure out exactly where I want the circle to start and end. But it's not looking too bad. And it's like I definitely like that better than the white. So I'm just going to go down here and I'm going to highlight layer 2. I'm going to right click on it and I'm simply going to do a delete layer. I don't want it. So now I'm going to go ahead and at this point I'm going to go ahead and delete my background layer because I'm done with it. I don't need it because I like the way that the trim came out. And so now what I did then is I've got the people on one layer where I've taken all the other stuff out, and then below that I can put a fill or pretty much any other background I kind of